Hey everybody, with Anime Matsuri 2023 right around the corner, happening from August 10th to August 13th at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas, featuring both Toho and Godzilla and the Godzilla Store and Kaylee Hoddle and Shinji Nishikawa and me.
What a goon.
I thought it'd be fun, with that coming right up, to take a look back to the very first Anime Matsuri I was invited to, the very first one to feature the Godzilla Store, Anime Matsuri 2019. Please enjoy a video I recorded actually quite a while ago about some really fun stuff and some good friends I made there. Oh man. What's up everybody, man? Back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Anime Matsuri video. An entire year after I was there. It's 1 year later. It has been a full year. It's been over 2 years. Yeah, it's been 2 years since that clip of me saying it's been 2 years. Because that clip was recorded June 30th, 2021. So, it happens, I suppose. So in this one, we are going to be talking about meeting the Godzilla actors. You guys have gotten to meet them a little bit too. I've had them on the channel a few times. Actually, I haven't had all of them on the channel a few times, but we've seen Alan Maxson. I've gotten him on the channel quite a few times. Jason Liles has made a couple appearances, and I had all the Ghidorah guys on a live stream to watch Godzilla King of the Monsters together. Still need to do something with TJ Storm though, that's for sure. So this video is brought to you by Anime Matsuri. They're the ones who flew me out to Houston last year so that I could go to the Anime Matsuri event. If you've seen the previous Anime Matsuri videos I have made, you kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I was up to for the most part. This one's going to be picking up shortly after where we left off. Actually, directly after, like seconds after where I left off when I was talking about the Godzilla Store. When I made that full video talking about my experiences there, at one point I was like, and then I went and talked to the Godzilla guys. And this is that story. So by this point, going into Anime Matsuri last year, I'd already known Alan Maxson and Jason Liles. I had done videos with both of them, and I had kept in contact with Alan Maxson frequently. Him and I talked frequently at that point. Richard Dorton and I had a couple interactions, and we were gonna do an interview, but we weren't able to get to do an interview leading up to Godzilla King of the Monsters. It was stuff to do with Warner Brothers. And then TJ Storm and I had like 1 or 2 interactions. He followed me on Twitter back then and responded to like one of my tweets, and that was it. That's the only contact him and I had. And so I was kind of nervous to meet the guys, but also not really. It wasn't like I was getting really jittery about it. It was more like, yeah, it's gonna be weird to talk to these guys in person after talking to specifically Alan Maxson online. It's like, oh, it's gonna be kind of weird to meet them in person. But also I'm a person where unless it's happening, it doesn't really feel tangible to me, so I wasn't getting like totally excited about meeting them because until I was in front of them, it didn't really feel like a thing that was actually gonna happen. You know, I don't know. I'm a weird person. Things actually have to happen for me to experience them. I don't really get excited before they're happening. So anyways, I'm at the Godzilla Store doing my Godzilla Store thing, and Chris, Jazzman, comes up to me and he's like, hey, have you met the mocap actors yet? They're in the house. And I hadn't. I was like, I did not know they'd be here. I was told that they would be arriving much later than they actually were. So I was totally thrown off. I was like, no, I had no idea that they were going to be here. So immediately after finishing with the Godzilla Store, I went straight over, made a beeline right for them. I went straight to their booth because they were positioned fairly close to the Godzilla Store. They were looking at it. Their booth was looking at it. And it was only then when I was walking over to them that I finally started to get excited. I was like, oh Jesus, this is gonna happen. I'm actually gonna meet these guys.
They are. Where are we going? So we're going to meet Godzilla and Ghidorah.
It was only once I recognized them that I was like, whoa, they're in front of me. This is weird. It was especially weird being like, oh, I'm taller than some of them, but dwarfed by Jason Liles. That guy's huge. So I went over there and we officially met.
Hey!
This guy, let me get out. What's happening, dude?
Nothing much.
How are ya?
How are you?
Good to see ya.
Good to see you.
You enjoying yourself over there?
Oh yeah, they got lots of cool stuff over there.
Is that where your base is? Are you sitting there the whole time?
No, I don't have a base. Hey!
Dude, you're taller than I thought. Ah.
And we all started talking, and you know, it was good stuff. Shortly after though, we got scolded and told that there was no filming the actors. We were not allowed to film them. There was some weird stipulation with their contract that didn't allow them to be filmed, so we kind of just had to deal with it. And it was only later that we found out that I actually had specific permission to be able to film with them. But we had no idea. That was something we learned much later. So that's why there were no interviews with us all there at Anime Matsuri. We weren't able to do that. I'm bummed we weren't able to do do that, but we weren't able to do that. Would have been awesome. I also just realized I have this sitting here. This is related to the video. Totally forgot about it. This was given to me by, obviously, Alan Maxson while we were out there, so it's a nice little bracelet. But yeah, we were told no filming with these guys. No, no, no. Their manager also didn't know that we all had a previous relationship by that point. She just like, oh, who's this kid? Just walking up, filming them. So it was obviously like not her fault. But yeah, the mocap guys were all great. It was a blast meeting them.
You don't look at the
How
camera,
are you?
Jason.
I looked right at it. I keep looking right at it.
You'd think he'd ever done a movie before.
He's taller than you. He's taller than you. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi. Good, how are you?
Good. Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I just went and saw Godzilla again last night in Screen X. It's like the weirdest thing ever. You've ever been in a Screen X?
No.
It's like they got the screens on both walls as well.
Oh, so you can like look over and
There you go.
so they don't wrap it around. It's like you're watching it 3 times.
Yeah, well, no. It's like they take this screen and it's kind of bent more, but then they also have like new footage on the walls.
I've seen 40X, 40 movies and stuff, but it looks, I'm interested to see how the experience is.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, you let your peripherals do a lot of the work and you're there. You
That's
know?
awesome.
Yeah.
Now, is there like gaps in the walls of the screens?
Yeah, there's little gaps,
Gotcha. But it's not distracting.
but not too bad.
Nice.
I don't know how they got a lot of this footage, because like you'd think that they'd have to have multiple cameras to get it all, because they do have, there's new footage on the walls that I've never seen before. Pretty cool. No video?
And their little booth, their Godzilla setup, became like a third home for me while I was over there. It was like my hotel room was number 1, the Godzilla store was number 2, and their booth was number 3. I made sure to not constantly pester them, but I consistently pestered them. Because I didn't want to constantly be a bother to them, just hanging around them the whole time. But I definitely showed up a lot just to talk to them. So the first thing I did was buy autographs, obviously. That's the first thing you gotta do in stuff like this. It's a must. And they showed me a smuggled behind the scenes photo of them on the set of Godzilla that no one else was seeing at that point. It was a sneaked photo. But yeah, I made sure to get everybody's autograph. If you've seen the background of the videos, you can kind of see these things hanging up. You're gonna get that bad reflection glare there, but not much I can do about it because I don't want to take it out of the frame. So we've obviously got Alan Maxson, Jason Liles, and Richard Dorton. Good stuff. So we got this one, and then I made sure to get TJ Storms, because I mean, you gotta get Godzilla, right? There's no way. So we got this one. Walking over there initially, Alan Maxson and Jason Liles both recognized me. It took Richard Dorton a second. Once they finally introduced me and they're like, hey, Richard, this is Derek, and then it was like, oh my God. Then he recognized me, and it took a while for TJ Storm. He recognized me, but didn't know who I was. It was like, this kid's familiar. And so we finally got to talking, and when him and I were talking, and him and I didn't get to talk as much as I would have liked because he was constantly busy. He had things going on constantly, people coming up to him constantly, so I didn't really get to talk to him as much as I would have liked to. But when he finally realized, he was like, oh, are you that D-Man guy? I was like, I am that D-Man guy. And then we started talking. He was like, oh my God, I watched your trailer breakdown for SDCC. That was a happy moment, as the controller of Planet X might say. It's like, oh my God, Godzilla watches my video. It's like, what? Later that night, I went to the Godzilla King of the Monsters panel featuring them, which was a blast. That panel was awesome. I really enjoyed the by name shout out at the end of that panel. If you want to see the whole panel, it's on the channel. You can just go check it out. It's already here. You've been able to see it for like a year now. I was let in early because I just kind of walked in and was like, am I allowed to be here? And no one stopped me, so I walked in early. I passed a mysterious Japanese man along the way though. I bumped into him at the Godzilla store before that point, and I bumped into him here. He's super friendly, loved the Invasion of Astro Monster jacket, and him and I were talking a little bit. It was like, who is this guy? He knows who I am, but I didn't know who he was until much later. But there's some setup for the next video. Unless I've already talked about that, I can't remember. Maybe you already know who it is. So the Godzilla guys had all asked me about my notebook earlier because I was telling them, I was like, yeah, I got a notebook that I just take loads of notes on King of the Monsters in. They were like, oh, let's see it. So here's the notebook. I've shown it off on the channel before. It's the same notebook I took my Kong Skull Island notes in. And so, I was just showing them like pages upon pages of notes on King of the Monsters. Like, this is all stuff I went into the theater and took all these notes. So they're a little unorganized and a little messy, but yeah, they loved to see it. They were like, no way someone's gonna spend that much time breaking this movie down. What a nerd. But in a good way. They thought it was cool. We also took some pictures before the panel started, like weird pictures. Richard Dorton had taken a picture of my dad and I and was joking about tweeting it out. Maybe he did. I don't remember if he tweeted it out. He was joking about tweeting it out and making it seem like we were the only two who showed up to the panel. So I made sure to tag along and get one as well, where TJ Storm went and sat off in the side, and I took a picture of him as well, so we could get like, I don't know, it was funny. It was funny in the moment, having the pictures being like, these were the only people who turned up, and one of them was one of the people on the panel. Then the panel room filled up, and everyone was like, all right, you guys can all move to the front. I was initially told, like, avoid the front rows, and so I avoided the front rows, and then everyone just filled up the front rows, even though I was, again, specifically told not to sit in them. So I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute, can I move up? This is just me complaining at this point. This has nothing to do with the Godzilla guys. But I tried to switch with this dude in front of me. He was quite obnoxious about it. Kept trying to get me to pay him so I could get a better seat. Just like, what are you doing, guy? Why are you being like this? It's like, oh, dude, not only is it bad enough that I got stuck behind you, but now you're like trying to make me pay you, and you're just being super annoying the whole time during the panel. Come on. After the panel, I got a text that was like, hey, we're going to dinner, you want to join us? And it was from Alan Maxson. So I was like, hell yeah. We all went to some seafood restaurant. It was like attached to the convention center. We had that for dinner. I ordered a normie thing. I ordered like cheese sticks or something. We initially met up in a hallway outside the Sky Bridge, which connected the hotel to the convention. That was the second time where I was like, oh my god, this is like a real thing that's happening to me. I was like, when I was getting like really excited, I was like, what is my life right now? How did I wind up here? And that night was a blast. It was honestly one of the most fun nights I've ever had in my entire life. It was so much fun. It was awesome. My face was physically hurting because I was smiling too much. It was just an awesome time. I will never forget that night. The mocap guys are all awesome people, super down to earth, really easy to talk to. It was great. We just hung out and chatted. It was awesome. TJ Storm had me explaining the anime Godzilla to him, and basically was like, why do you like Godzilla so much? And he was having me explain it. We were getting into conversations about Godzilla and different characterizations of Godzilla, and it was so much fun. It was really cool. And then out of nowhere, Doug Jones, famous creature actor, showed up and grabbed a seat with us, and he was like, hey guys, do you mind if I sit here? And I was like, no, yeah, sit here. He and I didn't talk a lot during that dinner because we were separated, and also there was just a lot happening, so him and I didn't get to talk a lot during that dinner, but we talked enough to the point where we were friendly the entire rest of the convention, which was awesome. And him and my dad got to talk a lot because he, of course, is a character in Star Trek, so my dad, a big Star Trek fan, they were able to talk. Good stuff. It was awesome, man. Afterward, we all took pictures. Doug had already taken off by that point. He showed up mid-meal and then left early, so he wasn't there for the pictures, but we all took pictures afterward, which was great. Some of the best pictures ever, man. That is the night to remember for me. That one will go down in history for me. And we all went our separate ways. It was a surreal experience. I've never experienced anything quite like that. Some of the mocap guys went off in one direction, the other guys went off in the other direction. My dad and I walked around the street for a little bit, just waiting, because it was a little early. We didn't want to go to sleep quite then, but we were walking around the street, and we eventually bumped back into TJ Storm and talked for a bit before going our separate ways again. It was really crazy. I'm never gonna forget that time. The next day I was pretty self-aware. I didn't want to be a burden on the guys, so I didn't show up a bunch. I made sure to only talk to them when they had downtime and when I had downtime, and everything overlapped. So I didn't go over there a lot, but I talked to them enough. And I talked to Doug Jones a little bit. This was on a Saturday, because that all happened on a Friday. This was on a Saturday. I talked to Doug Jones a little bit. My dad went to the Doug Jones Star Trek panel. I think that went well. I didn't go to that one, but I think that one went well. And then it was the final day. It was Sunday, and I just said F it. I was like, whatever. So I went and hung out with them a bunch. Like the entire day I was hanging out with them. I'd done pretty much everything else at that point. Their lines were not as huge as they had been previously. They kind of blew through everyone in the first couple hours of the day. So once we got through the first beginning of the day, I was like, we all got nothing to do. Might as well hang out. That was great. They're just great people. It was so much fun hanging out with them. That day was the day I was informed that I'd be filming the Godzilla store ad, so I had it arranged for them to all go over, leave their little booth so we could get B-roll footage of them in the Godzilla store. And so we did that, and you've seen a lot of that footage in the Godzilla store ad, but also I'll just have at the end of this video a bunch of that footage just uncut so you guys can just see everyone running around the Godzilla store having a good time. And that was basically the day. It was basically just hanging out, going to the Godzilla store, trampling around, and then going back to the booth and messing around some more. That was the day I also got pictures with all the guys, because although we had taken pictures at dinner, we had never gotten any official pictures, so I took a bunch of pictures with the guys that day. That was the day that TJ Storm called me out. It was like a pose as a monster photo, right? So TJ Storm's doing Godzilla, and I was like, gotta represent both ends of Godzilla here. I thought I was real clever, so I made sure to do the upturned hand Shin Godzilla, and I tried to get in a little bit of the Shin Godzilla pose, and TJ Storm knew it. He saw right through it. He was like, no Shin Godzilla in my pictures. That was pretty awesome. It was real funny. funny. I don't know if I described that properly, but he was doing it as a joke. I also got some pictures with Doug Jones. I got an autograph from him as well. So that's nice. It was good stuff. We recreated this image when we took our pictures just because. I had paid for the pictures and the autograph from Doug Jones without telling him because I had a feeling I would get it for free, and I didn't want to. I mean, I don't know. I felt like that would be a little unfair. So I made sure to pay for it without telling him. And then when he was told I paid for it, he was like, what the heck, man? I would have given it to you for free. I was like, I know. And then he hit me with the phrase that I have said a countless amount of times since this day. Just the fact he said it was unbelievably funny to me. He's like, whatever, I guess. Thank you so much. Boys support boys, you know what I mean? So now boys support boys has become my catchphrase. Great guy. I loved Doug Jones. As the day came to an end, everybody kind of split up and went in our different directions. Before everyone did, it was like a winding down time, and it was basically just time for me to be like, yo, could you guys sign a whole bunch of stuff for me really quick? So I got a bunch of autographs. So I got the Ghidorah guys and Godzilla to sign this. So we got TJ Storm here. Here's this one. This one looks like Richard Dorton, Alan Maxson, and then Jason Liles. I got them to sign the wings of the Godzilla store exclusive King Ghidorah 2001. It's like my prize figure possession now. Richard Dorton signed his advertisement for his mocap classes. Go check him out. Pretty good stuff here. This one he had just signed and just gave to me. It wasn't even like, hey, could you sign this for me? He was like, hey, do you want this? So I was like, yes. Why wouldn't I want that? I had bought an autograph from Jason Liles that I don't currently have. See, I'm holding it up now. It was George from Rampage. That one was actually for a friend of mine, so that one went to her, so I don't have that one. And then finally, the true prize possession, which for the longest time I wasn't going to show off, but I got permission from the guys to show it off. And that was the picture they all had, the smuggled behind-the-scenes photo of Godzilla King of the Monsters. So I got the Ghidorah guys to sign that one, and that's awesome. Good stuff, man.
Guys, let's do this.
Yeah. Silver. Silver. Silver.
Yes! Yes! I'll be nice.
Matt? Yes!
I especially remember hugging you with this music going.
And those outfits.
This one, like I said, is like the prize possession. This one goes in the center of the display behind me. So huge thank you to those guys for that. God, I cannot thank them enough. I cannot thank anybody enough for this weekend. It was so awesome. Like I said, as the day came to an end, everybody split up and went in their separate directions. Alan took off earliest. Alan Maxson made it out of there before everybody else. He caught a flight back to LA before we could. And he doomed us all. The rest of us all had to board later flights, and if you've heard any of this story before, you know how this one ends. We all went to the airport. I believe it's the George Bush International Airport, but for whatever reason in my head, I was telling myself it was JFK, although I Googled it and it wasn't JFK. Interesting. And my dad and I, we were just hanging out. We had just eaten lunch or dinner or whatever, and we were sitting in the food court, and I looked up and I was like, hey, that's an oddly tall man, and there's only one person who's that oddly tall. And I knew right then that it had to be Jason Liles. I saw right next to him was Richard Dorton. I was like, well, what do you know? So it turned out Richard Dorton, Jason Liles, and I wound up in the same airport at the same time, and so I ran over to them and I tried to pay for their Frosties. Darn it, that stupid machine was out. I couldn't pay them back. I was trying to do something nice for them. The machine was broken, whatever. So they went back to the table my dad and I were at, and we chatted for a bit. This was like around 4 or 5 o'clock. It was not that late. Maybe it was closer to 6, but it wasn't that late. Like 6 p.m. I should say. It wasn't that late. It was after the convention on Sunday. We were all ready to go home, and little did we know we would be trapped in that airport for many an hour. I never did get to see TJ Storm or Doug Jones, but I was told they were both there. And there is a photo of all them being all sleepy, being stuck in that airport for an endless amount of time. I was not there for that. I was in a different terminal. It was quite far away from where they were, so I didn't get to see those guys, but I did see Jason and Richard. So Jason Liles, Richard Dorton, and I met up a few more times and talked. Like I said, we were catching different flights, so we didn't get to talk a bunch. And right before I was about to board, Jason had texted me and was like, hey, I'm at the Wendy's or whatever. I ran back to meet up with him one last time to say goodbye. We got an iconic, for me, it's an iconic tired boys selfie. I look like such a child in this photo, and I will never be able to explain why I look like a child in this photo, but for whatever reason, and this is kind of the thing when you're with Jason Liles, you just become a child. Like that man, when he'll hug you, it's like, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'2", I'm an adult, but when this giant dude hugs me, suddenly I'm like a 7-year-old kid again. And I think this picture is like the picture that encapsulates. It's just something about my face too. I just look like a child in that photo. But we got one more tired boys selfie. Heck yeah. And then I boarded my plane, and that's a story for a different day. The poor guys did not board their plane. They got stuck in the airport overnight and eventually had to head back to their hotel, and they didn't fly home until halfway through the next day due to some storms over Houston that night. But that ended our romp through Anime Matsuri with them. That was as much time as I got to spend with those legends. Great guys. I wish we could meet up again sometime. Hopefully we can. And I'm sure I'll have them on the channel more because they're great guys, and it's always fun to chat with them. So that was my experience meeting the Godzilla King of the Monsters actors at Anime Matsuri. It's something that I will never forget, and it's a really humbling experience, and it's crazy. You know, it is crazy to be like, I don't know. How did I wind up in this position? I don't know, but I somehow did. I have to thank you guys all for that, and I have to thank Anime Matsuri for that because they're the ones who gave me the opportunity, and you're the ones who made it possible. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for what will probably be the last Anime Matsuri video. D-Man out.